Okay, good evening. Welcome to our live broadcast. Tonight we have yet another Dhammapada story. It's just a short one tonight. Tonight I will be heading back to Stony Creek, and tomorrow morning I have an interview on the radio, the local McMaster radio, to advertise our peace walk and to talk about the new Buddhism Association at McMaster. So good publicity there. And lots of other things going on. So we might end it a little early tonight, but we've got a very short Dhammapada, so it's not, shouldn't take long. Okay, we're ready. Good evening and welcome back to our study of the Dhammapada. Tonight we continue on with verse number 81, which reads as follows. Selo yatha ekaghano vatena na samirati evang ninda pasangsasu na saminjanti pandita, which means just as a rock that is a single hunk in the sense of having no cracks, or it's a solid piece of granite. Just as the winds don't stir the rock, don't disturb the rock, wind can never make it waver. Even so, Ewang, in regards to ninda, which is blame or criticism, insult, pasangsa, which is praise. In the face of praise and blame, nat saminjanti pandita, the wise do not quiver, waver, are not stirred, are not moved. This was given in regards to Lakuntaka Badya, a monk who was short. His name was Badya, or whether that was his name or not. Badya just means a royal or a high class person, I think. But it could be a name. Yesterday, I think we had was also, no, yesterday was, sorry, the story that we had yesterday was similar to the one of Badya Raja, who was a king named Badya. So Badya is maybe a common name, maybe it's an appellation. We'll take it as a name, I guess. But they called him Lakuntaka because he was a dwarf. He was short, to say the least. He was a dwarf. And like many dwarves have to go through, he suffered at the hands of the novice monks and the unconverted, they say. So those who were who hadn't yet realized the Buddha's teaching. Unconverted, I think, is an old form. The word will be the ordinary people, people who haven't come to see it on a deeper level, that things like taunting and poking fun at people because of their height is not a cool thing to do. So those sorts of people. In fact, they had this sort of thing happened in Thailand when I was there. It's funny, the sort of things that happen. It's a different culture, I guess. Like if someone had dark skin, they'd make jokes about them being very black. And we were up on a mountain once, and one of the monks said, "Oh, if we leave you here, when we come back, the clouds will be all dark." That sort of thing just wouldn't fly in our country, in the West. And things like calling people fat, they don't really have a problem with talking about people being fat or that kind of thing. But so there was one in Thailand. There was one monk who was very short, and he was constantly being harassed by the other monks, just joking and picking on him. But I think another thing is in Thailand they have thicker skins. which means they don't respond so strongly to insults and criticism. I don't know. On the other hand, I've also seen monks get up and start fist fights. So, yeah, different culture. But in the time of the Buddha, this was also a thing. But the story is, it's just a simple expression of the fact that he didn't respond. He didn't get upset. He didn't lash out at them, probably because he was an arahant. But it's one of those stories that shows the expression. It's an example of the expression of an arahant, how an arahant deals with things. And it's good for us to compare with how we deal with things. If someone picked on your height or your weight or your color of your skin or that kind of thing, how would you feel? How do you handle it when someone points out flaws like your teeth are not straight or your head's going bald? Someone actually said something really funny today. Um, I don't know. I don't want to poke fun. It was really a nice someone. I mean, everyone's so young here. It's funny. It kind of surprises me that these people are actually third and fourth year university students because they seem very, very young all of a sudden. And it's like I'm in a time warp coming back so many years later. But this woman came up to me, and a student came up to me and said, wanted to know about um, Buddhism, wanted to know why I was wearing robes. Actually, that's how people start the conversation. But she was interested, and she's probably coming to the peace walk tomorrow. But she said, "How old are you?" And I said, 36. And she said, "Oh, you look really good for 36." And I thought, what? 36 is really is old. It's kind of funny. I mean, that was actually a compliment, but it could easily go the other way. I've heard that, and people say, "Oh, you're only 36." In Thailand, it was like that. Many people were surprised that I wasn't much older. And actually, when I was like 25, I was already going bald, I think. They're like, "You're only 25," which is, of course, wouldn't be good for the ego. But we're very much against holding on to the ego. So it's good to have these kind of things happen. Good to be tested. But it's also good for us to see an example like this, who wasn't affected by praise or blame. Praise and blame are two of the 8, what we call Lokiya Dhamma or Loka Dhamma, the Dhammas of the world. They're truths in the world. And they say you can't be free from praise and blame. You can't say you're always going to be praised. There also can be translated as the vicissitudes of life. As in the Mangala Sutta, where it says, Buddhassa loka dhammehi chittang yassa na kampati. It says basically the same thing as this verse. The greatest blessing, etamangalam uttamang, is when someone who is touched by the dhammas of the world, the worldly dhammas, worldly truths, the characteristics of the world, the aspects of existence, chittang yasana kampati, whoever's mind doesn't waver. So basically the same thing. This is the greatest blessing. And it's really a good expression of our practice. So to jump right into what this verse means to our practice, this is really what it's all about, because if you've started practicing in this tradition, you can see that the mind is very apt, or no, very apt, very quick to waver, quick to respond, quick to react. And this is what we mean by wavering. Forget about praise and blame, just sitting still. We react to pain, we react to itching, we react to heat and cold and noise if we're trying to meditate and there's noise. We react to our thoughts, we react to our emotions, we react just about everything. So our mind is constantly wavering. And then it extends into our life as well. Throughout our life, throughout our daily life, we're worried about this, afraid of that, angry about this, wanting that, tossed and turned by the vicissitudes of life. And so the answer to a lot of life's problems are simply stop wavering, stop reacting, stand firm like a mountain, like a stone, stand firm like a rock. That's unwavering, unmoved, unshaken. It's, I guess it's a little bit, we have a little bit of a wrong idea usually of what it means to not waver. We think that somehow you have to force yourself not to react and so on. And so we in ordinary usage, we talk about, people will talk about being strong, stay strong, like as though you have to repress your feelings and grit and bear it, or grin and bear it, or something. Bite your teeth. Um, you know, don't react. Keep a stiff upper lip, that kind of thing. But that's not what it means at all. And that's what's so great about insight meditation, is it's in a total different category from any kind of forced repression of reactions. And that's important, because what you realize after some time is repression doesn't really work. Forcing yourself to be a good person, forcing yourself uh, to be strong, forcing yourself not to react, forcing yourself in general is unsustainable. So we start to get the idea, well, just forget that. It's just eat, drink, and be merry, because there's no way to, repression is not good. So unknowingly in modern times, we've come to see what the profound thinkers in the Buddhist time were also seeing, that there's only two extremes and you have to choose between them. And very few people are able to see the middle way between this self-torture and indulgence. Usually it's one didn't work, so we try the other one. The other one didn't work, so we try the first one. But the Buddha taught the middle way, and that's why this middle way idea is so important. It's the middle way between these two extremes. It's this not wavering. It's not repressing at all. It's seeing so clearly that you have nothing to react about. It's like you already knew, you were already expecting it. It doesn't surprise you. It doesn't impact on your mind at all. It comes totally known and understood into your mind. When it arises, you understand it. When it ceases, you understand it. And that's all that happens. You were at peace before it arose, you're at peace after it leaves. This is what we strive for. Not repression, not forcing, not going somewhere or becoming something, but giving up and letting go and seeing clearly and understanding the nature of our experience, the nature of reality. And then when someone calls you a buffalo, I don't have a tail. How can I be a buffalo? Someone calls you short, well, I'm short. I knew that already. So if you're fat and someone calls you fat, well, yeah, I'm fat. There's no reason to get upset. Well, getting upset doesn't help. It's a flawed reaction. It hurts you. It causes friction between you and the other party. And it doesn't make you any taller. Doesn't change reality. We get so incensed by these things. Sometimes reasonably so. I mean, for example, like judging people by the color of their skin is no small thing. It's obviously led to an incredible amount of suffering for large numbers of people. And so the same goes for prejudice against short or tall people or fat people, that kind of thing. There's no question that these novices were wrong. What's just amazing is that in the face of such wrong, there was no anger, there was no uh, reaction, there was no backlash, there was no enmity from the part of Lakuntaka Bandhya. And that's what's great about an arahant, is they've let go, they've risen above this. They have no quarrel with anyone, unless they're able to live with and be at peace with everyone and everything, no matter what dhammas arise, whether it be praise or blame or fame or infamy or wealth or poverty, happiness or suffering. Puttasaloka dhammehi cittang yasana kampati. Their mind doesn't waver. Asokang, they are unsaddened. They are free from sorrow, sorrowless. Vitrajang, without any stains, or stainless means without any evil in their hearts. Kemang, safe. True safety. In fact, invincibility. Because if nothing can affect you, then no one can ever hurt you, and no circumstance can ever cause you suffering, because you don't react. You don't waver. You aren't shaken, unshaken. Etamangalamuttamang. This is the highest blessing. And this is why ninda pasangsasu na saminjanti pandita. In regards to praise and blame, the wise do not waver, are unshaken, just like a rock. Like a solid rock is not shaken by the wind. It's not moved by the wind. Samirati. It's not tossed about by the wind. So that's the Dhammapada for tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. Keep practicing and be well. Okay, we're early, so that's good. So we can answer some questions, but I'm gonna have to stop it at some point because I got to get ready to go to Stony Creek and prepare for other things. So I think we have a bunch. I think we have a bunch of questions. First of all, before we get started, if you're looking at the archive of live stream talks, you'll notice that it's empty. You can thank me because I cleaned it out last night. So you're welcome. No, the truth is I accidentally deleted all of the live stream archive, about 2 gigabytes. So bye-bye. That's what happens when you put a monk in charge of a web server. Yeah, they're gone. Impermanence. Okay, the volume is low, huh? I don't know how to... Well, I guess I know how to fix that. It's just... well, I'm quiet anyway. It's my fault. Have to learn to speak up. So, questions?
We have questions. When it comes to animals, how is one to approach the subject of euthanasia or even giving them medication to ease their pain?
Medication to ease the pain is reasonable to a certain extent, but euthanasia is not. Because death is a part of life, suffering is a part of life, and dealing with suffering is an important part of life. Cutting it off is not dealing with the pain, it's adding something to their problem. Especially sending them on their way when they're in pain is a really bad idea. Because any being that dies when they're in pain is not going to be in a good state. If they're suffering from the pain, that's a real reason to keep them around until they're ready to deal with, until they're at peace with the pain. But even still, when you murder is a cause for a disruption of the mind. It's also unwholesome in your own mind.
Is it possible to reincarnate in the past?
I have no idea what that means.
What is the difference between citta and vinaya? Sorry.
Vijnana.
Vijnana, since both are translated as consciousness.
One has 4 letters and the other has 7.
They mean the same thing?
They can. Citta can also mean all 4 of the Namakanda, I think. I guess that's... Yeah, because citta is, in Abhidhamma, citta is the real one, vijnana is just a sutta word. But citta means all 4 of the khandas. I think. Can. But usually it's just they're used interchangeably.
It always amazes me how many polywords there are for the same thing, and it's a little confusing. Is it common that after we begin meditation, we start to notice how other people are feeling?
Yeah, well, you're more alert to a lot of things. You can pick up on people's body language. You can pick up on people's emotions. You're more objective, so you're more there for them. You're less obsessed with your own problems. So for sure. And you can also learn to read people's minds or read people's hearts. So there are people who can actually sense other people's emotions. That can be probably pretty distracting.
And someone wanted to know the Dhammapada verse you'd be teaching tonight. Was that number 81?
81.
81. What do you think of Ian Stevenson's research on reincarnation?
I haven't looked too much into it. I think he did a good job. I think it's useful research. I'm sorry that it was disregarded by so many people. I think if you're interested in more thorough research, you should check out the people who continued his work on, the people at the University of Georgia, I think, Kelly and what are the other guys' names? There's two Kellys, and they wrote a book called Irreducible Mind. It's a really good book. Long, it's like a textbook, but worth reading. Irreducible Mind. But they've got lots of articles on the University of Georgia Division of Perceptual Studies, and these are all the people who came after Ian Stevenson. So their research is pretty neat. A little more advanced because Ian Stevenson was just a pioneer, but the people who came after were able to systematize the sort of teachings, the sort of research that he did.
Bhante, is it possible that meditation could cause one's past deeds to be brought up in the present mind more often and more strongly than they would be otherwise? Thank you.
Didn't we just have this question a couple of days ago?
I think we did, or something very similar.
What's our rule on answering the same question 2-3 days in a row?
Is it typical to start to care less in terms of having an emotional reaction about what happens to others and to oneself after meditating for a while?
Sorry, say again.
Is it typical to start to care less in terms of having an emotional reaction about what happens to others and oneself after meditating for a while?
Yeah. I mean, you're less, you're more objective, and you deal with things based on wisdom rather than emotion. So it doesn't mean you want to help people less, but you're less moved by it. You're less shaken by it. So, like an arahant seems to be very much moved by people's suffering, but it's just functional. They're not actually upset about it. They just are immediately moved to help if they can. So if you find yourself not caring, someone falls and you have no thought that you should pick them up, or someone wants to practice meditation and you think, I don't care, why should I teach them? Then maybe you're doing something wrong.
And just a follow-up comment, I'm asking because non-meditators seem to get mad when one does not react as expected. So that's
Well, yes, sometimes we can be a little hard-headed, but as we talked about this before. This is the problem: people's inability to deal with impermanence. So when you change, they're unable to deal with it. That's more to do with their prior attachments to you, or their attachments to the way people should react. So I mean, those are two different things. One, people who you've known before, and two, people who have an idea of the way a human being should act. They're both problems for meditators, it's true, and sometimes you have to just put on an act to some extent, like go through the motions of being an ordinary person, fitting into your society. I think that's reasonable. You can consider it a functional thing where it's your duty to act like everybody else. I don't think that's wrong. It's a burden on you, but that's the burden of living in society. Any society, even monastic society, there are burdens like this. You have to act for the community. So that's advice I would give, is to try to fit in. But it's not to say that they're right. It's just that, that's how you deal with non-meditators.
Hello, Bante. Why do we have questions? Why can't we just go and meditate? Thank you.
That's not a real question, is it?
I don't think that's a real question, because you can go and just meditate if you want to. When I note thoughts, memories, and feelings in meditation, I hesitate and think about the word or phrase I want to describe the specific thought. Is this common with some students, and will it hold back my practice?
Sorry, I'm just doing something here and it's not working.
Okay. So the person is, when they note thoughts, memories, and feelings, they hesitate and think about which word or phrase they want to describe the specific thought. Is
Mm.
this common, and will it hold back my practice?
It's common. Just means you're learning how to do the practice. It takes time to get good at it. It gets easier as you go along, just like anything. Just be patient. But the other thing is, it's helping you see that your mind is not totally under your control. So it's helping you to let go. In and of itself, it's a good thing. Just showing you to let, just to let go, teaching you how things really work, and forcing you to be more patient and more accepting or understanding.
Hello, Bante. When I find myself drifting off into thought, and before I know it, I haven't been noting for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. It's frustrating, so I note frustrated. It doesn't seem to be getting better with time. I'm doing around 1 hour per day. Any advice, or just keep practicing?
Well, 1 hour a day is not a lot. It'll help you, but it's a drop in the bucket, really, because then you've got 23 hours where you're not meditating. But it's not to say that that's a bad thing. It's actually a great thing. If you can do an hour a day, that's pretty awesome. It's just, don't expect, in a week you're gonna be Superman. One thing you can do is try to incorporate meditation into your daily life. Try to be mindful during the day. That should help. But certainly don't expect. I mean, another thing is, that's not, you're perhaps looking in the wrong place. The benefit you should find is in your frustration. The fact that you can catch the frustration, you wouldn't have caught it before, and that's a benefit of the practice. It's more important than catching your thoughts. You should also catch the desire to not think, the desire to not be distracted. That's also a bigger problem. Thoughts are just thoughts. You say, well, it gets in the way of my meditation. Well, the meditation is your reactions to it. So when you like it or you dislike it, when you want something or you dislike what you get, that's where the meditation is really supposed to work. It's much more important. Don't worry so much about the distraction. That's natural. If you're working during the day or doing whatever and only doing an hour of meditation a day, it's natural for thoughts to arise.
All caught up on questions.
Hmm. All right. Well, then maybe we should stop over ahead.
There was one more question that just slipped in, if you have time.
All right.
Is it clear when you've become a Sotapanna?
I mean, it's clear, but you may not be able to identify it as Sotapanna, but what's happened is clear. Something is clear. It's clear that something happened. That's about it. But there's no sign that says, congratulations, you are a Sotapanna.
You've leveled up.
Mm-hmm. No, there's nothing like that.
What happens when all of your egoic desires have ceased to be?
Okay, enough for tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Bante.
Thank you, Robin, for helping out. Good night, everyone.